It's often said that a story is just as good as its ending, and it's a saying that remains true in the case of video games as well. Many games tend to fumble when it comes to crafting truly memorable epilogues, but there are certain exceptions that go the extra mile and do the needful to deliver a fitting conclusion to the overarching narrative. To that end, we present 15 of the best epilogues in games. We have a lot to cover, so let's get right into it. Metal Gear Solid 4 – Guns of the Patriots.
Don't shut me out. I need you to listen to me.
What do you want? Come to laugh at me?
Oh, no. Look at the boy.
Metal Gear Solid 4 holds the world record for having the longest ending cutscene of any video game, with the epilogue cutscenes cumulatively lasting for well over an hour. And while that might sound tedious at first, such an extensive epilogue was needed to wrap up all essential plotlines in the game. We jump from one beautifully directed scene to the other as characters as they attain some sort of closure to their internal and external conflicts, and finally cutting back to the graveyard where we're treated to an emotionally charged conversation between Old Snake and a stumbling big boss, which will remain with you long after the credits roll. The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3 is an expansive journey that takes you all throughout the fictional continent as you take on all sorts of monster hunts and solve the many mysteries in an effort to finally find Ciri. The game heavily relies on choice and consequence for its story, and the narrative shifts and swerves accordingly to accommodate your choices. There are multiple endings that you can get, but the best ending is definitely the one where you let Ciri go into the tower to wage a war against the White Frost. Geralt comes back to Emir to convey that Ciri's dead, but it's later revealed that she's actually working as a Witcher. It's pretty satisfying to see Geralt reunited with her, and then working together as monster hunters makes it all the more memorable. Red Dead Redemption 1. Red Dead Redemption is all about John Marston tracking down former Van der Linde gang members in exchange for his family's freedom. And while the penultimate chapters suggest that everything just might get hunky-dory after all, John is attacked at the ranch where he ends up dying a painful death. The epilogue cuts to several years later, where we play as an older Jack Marston who embarks on a revenge quest to kill the man who betrayed his father, and it all ends with a climactic duel which then cuts to the credits. While it treads the same ground as Red Dead Redemption 2 in terms of narrative themes and the never-ending cycle of revenge, it still remains a memorable epilogue nevertheless. The Last of Us Part 2. The Last of Us Part 2 opens up by establishing a broken relationship between Joel and Ellie, but it soon branches out into a revenge plot that also doubles as a staunch reminder of the brutality of this post-apocalyptic world. After getting to know both sides of this revenge story and enjoying a brief moment of peace for Ellie, we embark on a climactic journey to track down Abby and finish her for good. After facing all sorts of dangers and freeing Abby from her captors, Ellie challenges her to a fight where she lets go of Abby after nearly drowning her in the water, realizing that killing her wouldn't end her nightmares or guilt about Joel. The ensuing fight also leaves 2 of her fingers severed, which means that she can't play the guitar anymore. This epilogue is just packed with one emotional punch after the other, and it's sure to leave you feeling heavy in the chest for many days to come. Red Dead Redemption 2.
Let's just live this one from now on. You and me, Jack, a family, by law.
John, I didn't know it mattered to you.
It didn't. But now it does.
Red Dead Redemption 2 might just be Rockstar's magnum opus, thanks to an emotionally packed narrative that features likable characters that have compelling developments over the course of the story, and it all ends with one of the most fitting epilogues. The last chapter sees you reprising the role of John Marston from the first game as he tries to live a new life as an honest farmer, and it's filled with many heartfelt moments that showcase the character in an entirely new light. But then, of course, Sadie shows up, and John is plunged back into the world of violence as he embarks on a quest to seek revenge against Dutch and Micah, and this final showdown ends in the most unpredictable way possible. Pikmin 4. Pikmin 4 might not have a particularly memorable narrative, but it features one of the lengthiest epilogues of recent memory. There's just a ton of stuff to do in the postgame, ranging from shipwreck tales to night expeditions and much more. It's going to take well over a dozen hours to complete all of this content, not to mention the fact that this epilogue features some of the best stages in the entirety of Pikmin 4. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End is a thrill ride that just keeps on escalating, with crazy set pieces and spectacular boss fights, but it ends on a happy yet memorable note. After the climactic sword duel with Rafe, Nate is gearing back to return to his mundane life, but Elena surprises him with a bunch of gold that Sam gifted to her. The duo uses it to purchase Nate's salvaging company and revive Elena's exploration show, all in an effort to lead the adventurous life they always wished for. We cut to the future where we control a teenage girl as she explores a beachside shack, and she's later revealed to be the daughter of Nate and Elena, which not only serves as a satisfying bookend to this high-octane adventure, but also a possible opener to a new beginning. Batman Arkham Knight. After defeating Scarecrow and completing the mainline missions in Batman Arkham Knight, you need to complete all the Riddler trophies and the side content to unlock the Nightfall Protocol ending, which is the true ending of the Arkham saga. Batman instructs Alfred to start the Nightfall Protocol, following which he arrives at the Wayne Mansion, all while thousands of journalists stand at the gate. As soon as Bruce enters the manor, it gets blown to bits and pieces by a deadly explosion. Of course, all of it seems like it was staged to make the denizens of Gotham believe that Batman is dead. We then get a glimpse of the future, where some goons are harassing a family in a dark alley, where a shadowy Batman-like figure appears with flames jutting out from all sides. There's a ton of theories as to what that mysterious figure actually is, but it makes for an epilogue that we won't be forgetting anytime soon. Pokemon Gold or Silver. The Pokemon games don't always have the most memorable of narratives, but Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal is one of the exceptions to that norm, and the epilogue, in particular, has one of the most surprising character reveals of the series. The last stretch of the game takes you back to the Kanto region, where you get to see this rather familiar area from prior games in an entirely new light. But once that's done and dusted, you can move on to the final Mount Silver area, where you get to meet none other than the protagonist of Pokemon Red and Blue. It's truly one of the most surprising moments, and the ensuing battle acts as a fitting conclusion to this adventure as well. It is all about Joel developing a deep connection with Ellie, and when that newfound connection is put to the test in the hospital where the operation might pose a risk to Ellie's life, Joel doesn't even hesitate to make a choice and guns down dozens of soldiers and Marlene to rescue Ellie. But what makes this epilogue so special is the final conversation between Ellie and Joel. Ellie asks about what happened at the hospital, and Joel lies about it all with a straight face. Unsure about his statements, Ellie asks if he's speaking the truth, and Joel lies once again, which then cuts to the credits. It's a powerful scene that's beautifully brought to life thanks to the many nuances in the character expressions and dialogue delivery, and it's one that will stay with you long after the credits roll. FIREWATCH. FIREWATCH is a simple game that's all about investigating a mystery that starts to get increasingly eerie as you go on, but the epilogue provides a satisfying conclusion to this narrative. After receiving an evacuation order from the authorities, Henry receives a signal on his tracking device, which leads him to a tape left by Ned that explains the real reason behind his son Brian's death and his intentions of staying in the wilderness. It also turns out that Ned was the one using the government camp for his harmless purpose of studying wildlife, and all the recorded conversations we got earlier were an attempt to prevent him from being discovered. To some, this ending might seem a bit premature, but you'll start to appreciate it once you try to understand the characters and their coping mechanisms. God of War 2018. God of War 2018's narrative is chock full of turns, but none compare to the twist that makes the final moments of this journey an unforgettable one. After a ton of trials and tribulations, Kratos and Atreus finally complete the trek to Jotunheim, where the duo comes across an area that's lined with murals which look eerily familiar. Upon closer inspection, we come to know that these murals actually told this very journey a long time ago, and we also get a glimpse of the future where Atreus is holding a dead Kratos in his hands, all while a giant serpent is oozing out of his mouth. Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain is an adventure that's all about uncovering the truth behind the origami killings, and it's a narrative that shifts and swerves depending on the choices that you make throughout. The A New Life ending is the most satisfying of the bunch, and it sees Ethan and Madison start a new life together as they move into a new apartment along with Sean. Ethan isn't imprisoned for his crimes, and we get to see some moments of joy in between this new family as you chase a curious Sean around this new apartment. Heavy Rain can be a pretty intense experience, and concluding it on such a happy note makes it so much more memorable. Silent Hill 2. Silent Hill 2's Rebirth ending is easily the best of the bunch, though players will need to play through the game a second time to unlock this conclusion to James's story. The Rebirth ending requires you to collect several artifacts throughout the game and use them to resurrect your wife Mary, which acts as a satisfying conclusion to this adventure. Of course, some might feel that the dog ending is more memorable on the account of its silliness, but Rebirth is a lot more fitting when you consider the narrative themes of the game. Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 3 is the conclusion of a trilogy that spans several years, and it's one that will remain with you a long time after the credits roll. The final quest is a showdown against the Reapers, which finally leads you to the elusive man who enlightens Shepard on the true purpose of the Reapers, which is to prevent the eventual galactic war between the organics and synthetics. You have the option to choose between a handful of endings, which obviously vary wildly from one another, but each of these conclusions is memorable in its own right. Some are more ripe to be built upon with a sequel than others, and it's going to be interesting to see how the next Mass Effect builds upon this conclusion, especially since there's no canon ending to the trilogy. And with that, we've reached the end of this video. Have anything to say? Let us know in the comments below. Also, we upload new videos every single day on GamingBolt, so please consider subscribing as it really helps us out. Thanks for watching.